Coach, this past weekend's game at Gardner Webb, it was a slow start for the Colonials. Those three
Yeah,
turnovers had to age you about 10 years.
yeah, they did, and it's probably what's most frustrating right now, Chris, is the slow start when we're away, and that's what it seems like. It's like the more we're away, the slower the start is, and for some reason we can't get our guys over the hump and get ready for an away game. It's been kind of frustrating, and like you said, you get those turnovers and first drive by the defense, you get a pass interference, then you got a personal foul, so you give up 30 yards. And so you give up 30 yards, get them close to the goal line, and they got a great football team. You can't just let those things happen.
Yeah, the first drive. I mean, even after they scored, and you were able to march downfield. I mean,
Mhm.
after they first had the ball, and you were able to march downfield, the drive looked really good until you got down around the 25-yard line.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've been able to get to the red zone. I mean, it's been one of those things where we've done a great job of getting down the field. We've moved the ball well right before the half. Basically, move the ball up and down the field. But like you said, when you make those mistakes and have those turnovers, even the second turnover as we're moving down the field, unfortunate snap, and then they get the ball on the 20. It's kind of hard. It's like I said before, it's kind of hard to play arena football when you're on a football field that's 53 and a half yards wide. So,
Well, Coach, I couldn't really see what happened on the sack and then the touchdown after that from my vantage point, but it looked like the officials uh, really didn't have a ruling at first, and they had to go back to the review. Can you describe what happened on
well,
that sack six
well,
play?
what happened was George did get hit. When he got hit, the ball did come loose, but it laid on his chest. So
Oh,
they landed on top of him. The ball was on his chest. They were on the ball, and then they jumped on the ball because it was loose. And when they jumped on it, they called a touchdown because, as you can see, once they called it a touchdown, there was nowhere they could confirm or not confirm, so they had to go with the play call. So it was a situation where the ball did come loose, landed on George's chest, but it was still on his chest when they got up. They knocked it off his chest and jumped on it in the end zone. So that's why they called it a touchdown.
yeah, I couldn't figure it out from where I was sitting. It looked like they sacked him at the 2-yard line, and then I didn't realize how the ball got into the end zone. But if it was still on his body, then
Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, they did hit him at the 2 yard line. That's why I thought forward progress was stopped. But then as he was, but the ball was knocked loose when they hit him on the 2 yard line, so it landed on his chest, and so that's why they called it a touchdown.
now, were you aware of that when it happened, or did you have to go back and watch the film?
I had to go back and watch film. I had no idea what happened. And what the ref said to me, he said, the reason they said it stands is because there's really no way for them to tell what happened either. But as I went back and watched film and watched our end zone copy, you see him get hit and the ball comes loose, and so you see what happens.
Okay. Um, obviously there's no quit in this ball club. I mean, you still fought back, and we talk about this week in and week out. Even though you were down 3 touchdowns. There was still some fighting in Robert Morris, and I know you got to feel good about that, even though it was a big hole to climb out of.
You know what? The thing about it, Chris, is what I've been preaching over and over and over with our guys. We've been talking FPF. And what FPF means is we're going to have fun. Let's make sure we go out there, we have a good time playing because this is a game. People forget sometimes this is a game. You got to have fun at it. So we want to have fun. We want to be physical. We want to make sure our team is knocking people around. If we get knocked around, we'll make sure we're knocking the other team around. But more importantly, we want to finish every game. So FPF, we want to have fun, be physical. We want to finish every game. That's why guys understand. Like I said, we just haven't been able to start the game the way we're finishing. But like you said, there's fighting our guys. They're fighting. They're doing what they need to do to keep things going. And it hasn't been turning out the way we wanted to, but the fact that they're still fighting is always optimistic.
Okay. I'm going to turn my attention to the Hampton game, but if Logan and Ray have any questions about this past week, I'll let them jump in.
No, I'm good. I think you covered it pretty much all.
Okay.
Yeah, I came in late, but I'm sorry. Hey, Coach, how you doing? I don't have any questions, Chris.
Okay. Let's talk about Hampton. Obviously, they pulled off a little bit of a stunner this past weekend.
I don't know if it's a stunner. When you watch Hampton on tape, there are too many things that I don't think their team could. They have a very, very athletic football team, and I think it's a stunner because A&T is also a good football
Right.
team. This team got after. I mean, they got a defensive line that is stellar. They play hard. They get after you. They have DBs that can run with you. They play a lot of cover one, play a lot of quarters. But it's a team that's got a lot of athletes, and you got to make sure they don't jump on you early. And that's what they did. They jumped on A&T early. A&T drove the ball down the field first drive, nice. And the next thing you know, they get a pick in the end zone. And so now as I ended with 2 points because guy runs it out. He shouldn't have run it out. He just took a knee, but he runs it out and then they get a safety. But no, this was a good football team.
Yeah, I think maybe the score was more stunning than the fact that they won the game.
Yes, the score was stunning. To be totally honest with you, I was stunned. I was like, I expected, like you said, I didn't expect them to lose the game, but at the same time, I expect them to beat them by as much as they beat them because A&T's a very good football.
Guys, anything?
Yeah, I just
Yeah, any other questions,
go ahead.
Coach?
You got it, James?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. That's why.
Oh.
But you're good, right? If you're good, you can ask.
No, I just wanted. I know that you guys had a bit of turnovers this past weekend, Coach. Defensively, and obviously offensively. Going into this game next week, obviously that's going to have to be something that you pay a little bit more closer attention to, and less turnovers. But for the first quarter, how are your starts? There's been a couple of games that you didn't quite get off to the start that you wanted to, get behind. What are you guys, planning on doing this weekend that'll be different against Hampton?
Well, again, as I was telling Chris before you got on, Smoke, the biggest thing that we're trying to figure out as a staff and myself as a head coach is why we're starting so slow on the road. And that's what's been hurting us. We've been on the road. I know we're not sleeping enough, we're not eating enough. I don't think eating's a problem because we feed them like crazy. I'm just not as sure what the problem, what the situation has been when we've been on the road. At home, we've been able to start pretty quick. We're able to get some things going. But probably the one thing we're going to do differently, and I can say this now, is we want to take the ball. We've won every coin toss. I don't know how crazy that is. I don't know if it's ever been done before, but every game we played in, we won every coin toss. And I've allowed a lot of the defense on the field first. But I think this time we're going to put the offense out there, see if we can make something happen, see if we can get it started faster, a little quicker this time, Smoke, and see how things go.
Understood.
Coach, just looking at Hampton statistics right now. I mean, obviously, well, before we get into actually what I was going to ask, why don't you say what it's like, coming back home? Is it kind of nice to come back home after a 2-game losing streak on the road?
Yes, there's no doubt. It's always good to come back home and get in front of your home crowd. And we've been able to play pretty well at home, so we're excited about that. We had a real good day of practice yesterday. We're still kind of pulling off. We're still not hitting. We were hitting earlier on. We're trying to see if we can get some guys a little healed. So we're still working hard and getting after it. But yeah, it feels good to come home.
And looking at Hampton statistics, last week obviously they're coming off I think it was 35-9 victory.
Something huge.
Yeah, against NCAT. But before that, they've given up at least 4 touchdowns to every other opponent they've played. Opponents are averaging about 33 points against them. How confident are you in your offense when you're going up this defense that up until last week has been struggling, but they are coming off a pretty good win?
Well, that's the whole thing. When you sit back and watch film, Logan, it's not so much about stats as it is the team you're facing. And when you sit back and watch that team, like I said, they have a pretty doggone good defensive line that gets after you pretty good. They don't do a whole lot of blitzing. They let their 4 guys go to work, and they do a great job of from some twists and some line movements and line games and stuff like that. And they have a secondary that can cover you pretty good. So this is going to be a good week for our wide receivers to get off of jams, make sure we're getting open, running correct routes, running crisp routes, and making things happen. And George to find a open guy when we do our passing game. But more importantly, this is the week we'll have to try to get our running game going. And I think it was a surprise last week when we put in senior transfer Anthony Purge. Anthony was averaging about 4 or 5 yards to carry, and he's been doing those things against our scout team. But now he's doing a great job of getting in the game, helping us out any way he can. He's like a guy that we didn't expect to have because Jordan Johnson was there. Then Jordan Johnson got a little nicked up, so he become like our short yardage guy. So he's working out pretty good for us. But the thing to answer your question, what we need to do as a team is complete our drives. Just like Chris said earlier, we're getting in the red zone. We're doing a good job. We just got to put it in the end zone. We did a bad job last week of getting in the red zone and not putting it in the end zone. We got a field goal out at one time. So we got to make sure we're doing things we need to do to put it in the end zone once we get to the red zone. So we can move the ball. We feel like we can move the ball against anyone. But we just got to make sure we pump it in the red zone when we're done. And the other thing that's important that we did last week as a defense is we did a great job against their running game. I mean, you're talking about a team that was averaging close to 200 yards a game rushing, and we held the team on 100 yards rushing, a team that did a great job. So we did the job. Bottom line is, I always tell people, it doesn't matter what stat it is. It's a W or L. That's all I care about. They want to give up only 150 yards. As long as we got a W at the end of the game, I don't really care.
You mentioned Anthony Purge, coach, giving him a chance. He got that touchdown run. He just looks like the proverbial bowling ball type of power back from
Yeah.
the old days.
Or as my man Coach Davis used to say, Butch Davis when I was at Miami, a bowling ball of butcher knives. So he's one of those guys who's just getting downfield. And like I said, he's been a pretty good surprise for us because, like we said, we thought that Jordan Johnson was our short yardage guy. He was doing good early in the year, and then all of a sudden Jordan gets nicked up, and we put Anthony in there. And Purge has done a great job for us.
Yeah, he looks sharp. I'll tell you, the prettiest play of the game, in my opinion, was the touchdown pass that James Westry caught over the shoulder on the far side of the end zone from where you were, and George Martin laid that thing right in the basket. That was just an NFL type play.
And those are the things we have to see this week because we're going to have a team that's probably going to come in here and play a lot of cover one against us. So we have to work ourselves free. And so we have to have James do things like that a little more often this week and have George laying the ball in there because you're absolutely right. That was a dime, and that was right on the money.
Westry's really played well. He has a knack of getting himself open. He can make some moves, yards after the catch. I mean, he's a little guy, but he's a complete receiver for you.
He is. And the thing about it is, with him and Dre being such a dual threat, and then we still got Jack and we still got Chris, who are those big, tall receivers we need, and Demont. So those guys are doing a good job, too. But those two guys right there are doing a great job for us of getting open.